All right. Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. I was about to say happy Wednesday and realized that's not quite right. It's actually Thursday. So good to see all of you. And I think a lot of you are typing in where you're from. Tell us your position. It looks like I see Atlanta, the Philippines, which is awesome. Maryland, D.C., that's my home. I see a question from Sebastian about calls per hour. So at the end, type that in if we have extra time. We're going to focus first on holiday objections and how do you handle those, since that's the purpose of the webinar. However, at the end, we'll grab any questions you guys have if we have time that are beyond just holiday objections. So I'm really excited to be with you guys today, whether you're live or watching the replay. So my name's Anna Krueger. I've been in ISA since 2006. And I've been coaching ISAs and / being an ISA since 2008, kind of combined both of those roles together. So been doing it a long time. I've had a lot of holidays in those years, and I've learned quite a few things, really from a lot of mentors of mine that passed it along of how do you handle holiday objections. So the first thing I want to do is remind you of what to do in general for objections. So I'm going to have a process. I want you guys to write this down. And really, the reason I'm giving you this pattern to start with is you do not want to just assume they said A, I say B. Really what needs to happen is they say A and you ask questions to clarify it, and then you give a solution. So if I said to you, and I want you guys to use the chat box, the comments box. If I said to you, I want to wait until spring, I do not want to list over the holidays, put in the comments box what you think the reason is that I want to do that. And I'll give you a second to get that in there. So I don't want to list right now. I want to wait until after the holidays. Why do you assume that that's the case? And we'll wait here. Takes just a second for those to come in. But what you guys will see as those comments start to flood in is that we all have a different perspective. So yeah, so Donovan said we want to wait to see how the market goes. So maybe they're feeling insecure about the market. Some people say, I don't want to have showings during the holidays. I see NJ type that in. Hey, NJ. Hey, Alana. Alana and I work together. Good to see you. I don't want to deal with it during the holidays. Life is too busy. I have family in town. The market will be better. So can you guys see how just from the comments box, just from us in here, how many different reasons there could be underneath why someone says they want to wait till after the holidays? So if you knee-jerk react and they say, well, I want to wait till after the holidays, and then you jump in real quick and say, oh, but right now is great because you can schedule showings around a family gathering. What if that's not why they want to wait till after the holidays? Might be something else. So the first thing we want to do is get in our head the holiday or the, I've been talking all day, guys. Give me some grace. The uncovering objections pattern that you would use anytime you get an objection. So write this down. So the first thing you want to do when you get an objection, number one, you want to welcome it. So say, thank you for telling me. You want to rephrase it and say, is that right? And all of that is step number one. So welcome it, rephrase it, is that right? So if they say, I want to wait until after the holidays, you're going to say, I'm really glad you shared that with me. So you want to wait till after the holidays, right? Yes. The reason you do that, by the way, is a psychological, you want to let them know I heard you. It can feel a little redundant, yet on their end, it feels like we're in good rapport. She heard me. She even repeated it with my exact words. She's listening. She's not just being a typical salesperson and talking over me or trying to convince me of something that maybe I don't want to do. So number one, welcome it, rephrase it. Is that right? Step number two is you're going to ask two digging questions. Now, if you are in the Mastering Inside Sales class, you know what a digging question is because we've been talking about that the last couple weeks. But a digging question, if you're not in the class, means that I'm going to use the word they said in my very next question. So if they said, I'm anxious about the market, a digging question would be, what makes you anxious about the market? If they say, I want to wait because I'm having knee surgery, Okay, a digging question using their words would be, tell me more about the knee surgery and how that impacts you moving this time of year. So step number 2 is to ask 2 digging questions using their words. The reason is it's going to help you get further and understand what are they really worried about. It's not usually the initial thing that they said. Okay. So number 1, welcome, rephrase, is that right? Number 2, ask 2 digging questions. All right. Number three, you're going to rephrase what they said to you and say, is that right? So for example, I might say, all right, Louisa, what I heard you say is you want to wait till after the holidays. And the reason for that is you think that the spring is the best time to list your market because that's when everybody moves, quote, everybody moves. Is that right? Yes or no? And what's good about that is, 1, it shows we listened. But also, if I misunderstood, she can now correct me and make it that we're on the same page. Or she'll say, yeah, that's right. And it will help her feel very heard. Please know that a big part of why this pattern works is it's a psychological, there's a lot of psychology here of, wow, she heard me. She's listening to me. She understands me. So that's why we use their words. We repeat, is that right? Am I hearing you? You're not the obnoxious salesperson that just slaps a response on their objection. So number 1, welcome and rephrase, is that right? Number 2, ask 2 digging questions. Number 3, do a condition or rephrase it, is that right? And then number 4 is conditional close. So don't just write down a conditional close because later you'll look at that and think, wait, what's a conditional close? So write it down this way. A conditional close is, if I could solve that, and personalize it, right? So if I could show you that doing something now actually would make it a better market for you, would you be interested? So you can write that down as, if I could show you ... would you be interested? And that's called a conditional close. Now, if they say yes, then go ahead and solve it. If they say no, what that likely means is there is another objection out there. So often people have more than one reason they do or don't want to do something. So if you only ask about the first thing they told you, and you don't say, hey, if I could solve that, would you be interested? They might say, no, I have this other thing. My spouse isn't on the same page. Well, a little aha probably for a lot of you is this is why often we have no-shows when we set appointments. We're on the phone, we deal with one objection, we feel good, they feel good, but we forgot to check if there was anything else. So we hang up, they remember their objection later that night, and now they don't show up for the appointment. So again, to recap, 1, welcome and rephrase the objection and say, is that right? Number 2, ask 2 digging questions using their words. Number 3, rephrase, is that right? And then number 4, a conditional close. Any questions on that right there? And I'll give you an example. And in this format, it's a one-sided role play because there's not a way for us to interact. So I'm going to do my best to share, here's what I'm saying as the agent, here's what they're saying as the client, okay? So if the client says, I want to wait until after Christmas, the agent would say, okay, I'm really glad you told me. What you're saying is you want to wait until after Christmas. Is that right? And then the client would say yes. And then I'm going to say as the agent, okay, what is important to you about waiting until after Christmas? Their words. And maybe the client would say, well, I just don't want to have to deal with showings while my family's in town. My family is coming, despite Corona, my family is coming this year, and I just really don't want to have to deal with showings and keeping the house clean. Okay, agent, next question, because remember, I got to ask 2. Next question. Okay, so what is it about having showings during the holidays when your family's in town that concerns you the most? And now the client might say, well, I just don't want to be sitting down to dinner and then find out we have to leave the house for 2 hours because there's a showing. That's super inconvenient and I don't want to have to deal with it. All right, now we're on to step 3. So I'm going to rephrase it. Is that right? So what I'm hearing you say is you want to wait till after Christmas because you're concerned you're going to sit down to dinner and then all of a sudden there's going to be a showing and you have to leave the house. Is that right? And they're going to say yes. And now I'm going to do the conditional close. So if I could show you a way that you actually can list your house right now and not have to worry about having a showing in the middle of Christmas dinner when you don't want to have to leave the house for 2 hours, would you be open to hearing that solution? And if they say yes, I'll solve it. And if they say no, I'll say, okay, well, what else is holding you back? All right, any questions there? Let me read real quick and see if there's any other questions. All right, I think I just did, I see a Facebook user, can you do an example? So that one, I don't know when you type that in, hopefully that grabbed that for you. Alana's typing it in, which is great. Alana is a consultant actually that works with me teaching this. So thank you, Alana, for putting that in there. Alana and I have worked together since 2006. So she has seen me not be good and then develop into coaching, and now we coach together. So Alana's been there a long time. Okay, it looks like we don't have any questions on how that actually works. So now what we want to do is actually go through how would you solve the particular things, and I want to give you some solutions. So number one, let's go through what if someone is saying, you know, I don't want to have to deal with showings. So let me ask you guys, what is the solution for people that don't want to have showings while their family's in town? Maybe they say, you know, the 22nd through the 26th, I've got family in town. I do not want to have to deal with showing the house. What is a solution to that one? And there is definitely a delay, so we'll have an awkward silence for just a moment. Yet I want you guys to think, because here's what I want you to remember, and you can write this down. All objections are, they're going to sound like a lot of different things, yet they're really two things. All objections are either one, a lack of education, or two, a lack of motivation, one or the other. So if they're not motivated, that's fine. I'm not motivated. I'm not going to move. I love my house. So we're not going to worry about people that aren't motivated. It doesn't make sense to help them. People that are motivated, however, that aren't moving forward, it is a lack of education. So what you want to think through is what thing could I educate them on that would fix what they're concerned about? So yeah, a lot of you are typing it in, a lot of great solutions. So I see several that say video tours, Matterport tours. Yeah, the one that's my go-to is, did you know that you can actually schedule showings around your family? So you can say the house is not available for showings on these days. Now, let me give you a little ninja trick. That's the solution, and a lot of people would stop there. But I want to be very personal and relational. So what I'm actually going to do is say, hey, there's actually a way you can schedule showings around your family time and block those days out, and just you're not available for showings. What that means for you, and now I'm going to personalize, what that means for you is you can sit down with your family for dinner the 22nd all the way through the 26th and not have to worry about a phone call interrupting your family time for a showing. Tell me your thoughts on that. So give the solution, and that's where the education comes in. And then, hey, what that means for you is, and then tie it back and make it personal. Yeah, and a lot of you guys are typing in, you can block showings. Yep, perfect. So let's do another common objection, and we're going to keep this specific to the holidays. So you can put in the chat box if you have something you've heard recently. Another common one this time of year is I want to wait until, you know, after the holidays. And what they mean is the spring, because it's a better market. They perceive it's a better market. So same question. What do you think about the better market in the spring? What's the education piece that would actually help them understand that's not actually true? And NJ, I see your thing about decorating. We'll come to that one next. That's a great one. You will be next. And NJ's in our Mastering Inside Sales. Good to see you in here. So people that perceive the spring is better, it's a hotter market, my house will sell better. That is actually a misconception. So what is the fact or the education that will overcome that? And I'll go ahead and fill it in. I think it's still a delay here. So what we know, when you look at data over time, significantly more people list their house in the spring. So if you guys watching this video were the seller, I would say, hey, if I can share with you some information that would help you see now is actually a great time to sell your house, even better than the spring. Would you be open to that? Yes. Okay, great. Here's my solution. So I'm going to give the fact and then I'm going to personalize it. So what we find is that a lot of people wait until the spring to list their house. And what that means for you waiting until spring means there will be more competition. It is actually very strategic to list your house when there's not as many listed, because now your house will have more people interested in buying yours. You will have less showings to sell your house this time of year, and usually you get a better price. Yeah, and you guys are typing it in. Lower inventory, less competition. Yes, Brianna, we're gonna have an influx of properties on the market. Everyone has the same idea as you. Yes. And I'll tell you guys, I wouldn't say this to a buyer or seller, but for you to know as an agent or as an ISA, I had this perception that December would be a slow month. And my leader said, Anna, that's in your head. It doesn't have to be true. If you think it's going to be a slow month, it'll be a slow month. If you think it's going to be a great month, it'll be a great month. I thought that was a little hokey. And it totally was true. So what I found was my December tied August, and they were both my top months. And so it really helped me see this is in my head, and I just need to get really good at overcoming these objections. If I just said, okay, yeah, that makes sense, I'll call you in the spring, I'm missing a huge opportunity. And honestly, it harms the client because it's true. You will have more competition in the spring. It's just like Black Friday. And again, that's weird this year too, but how many people wake up early to get the first 100 TVs that are, 60% off? It's because there's a limited quantity. So when there's a limited quantity, everybody flocks to get what's available. That's why people are in line at 5 in the morning. And so it's that same idea, is listing your house right now, there's less competition, which means your house will have more people interested in buying it. All right, let me see what else you guys are typing in. Okay, the other thing that you can say is that people looking right now, and think about this, who is looking for a house right now? The serious people. So the serious people are who's looking right now. And so that's another positive thing. Also, people that are concerned about showings, because serious people are looking this time of year and there are less houses on the market, so it really positions you in a good spot as a seller. That actually usually means you have less showings to get an offer. Be careful how you word that, because you don't want them to hear less showings and kind of tune out. You want to emphasize you will likely sell your house in less time with less interruptions for showings to get an offer, because the people coming through are serious. They're not just, walking through because they want to see. Okay, I see someone type in, what about buyer? What about buyer objections? So on that case, and actually this would work for sellers and buyers, is interest rates are ridiculously low. They are insanely low. I remember when I bought my house, it was around 4%, and people were like, that's amazing, you'll never get lower than that. And now we're hearing it down in the 2 point something range, 3 point, like low 3 range. So here's the thing, is if you're a buyer, what's going to happen is, yes, there will be more houses available in the spring. Most likely. We all saw what happened this year with pandemic, so you never know for sure. But yes, there will be more houses, which will create more opportunity for you to choose and put out an offer. However, what about interest rates? So a lot of people say, I want to wait to see what's going to happen. But the thing is, we all saw this year, you don't know what's going to happen 3 months from now. We can say, here's what usually happens. That doesn't mean it's what will happen. We all saw that this year, right? We all had a big humble pie lesson. What we do know is right now, today, interest rates are at a historical low. There's really nowhere else for them to go. They can't go much lower, or mortgage companies can't even survive and make money because there's no interest, right? And so what we do know is today, there's less houses to choose from. So you need to come with the mindset of, I'm not going to think about it for 3 days. I'm actually ready to make an offer. Take advantage of the low interest rates. The flip side of that is on the seller side, that is good for the sellers as well. And let me ask you, how is a low interest rate good for sellers? So how does a low interest rate help sellers? Because we usually think of it like a low interest rate is good for buyers, and it is. How is it good for sellers? So type in your answer. And the thing is, most sellers are also buyers. Not always. Maybe they're selling a second home or something like that. Yet usually they're also a buyer. So they're going to sell their house now, take advantage of the low interest rate for the next house. The other thing is you have a larger buying pool. Exactly. You type that in. There's more power for the buyers. So here's a general rule of thumb, and I would not repeat this necessarily to a buyer or seller. This is more for you to know. Yet every time interest changes by 1%, so if you go from 3% to 4% or 4% to 5%, let me ask you, what is the impact on buying power? There's a percentage. There's a percentage. So an interest rate goes up 1%. What is the buying power impact? And what I mean by buying power is, you know, when interest changes, maybe I'm still going to pay $1,200 a month on a mortgage. But buying power is how much of that is going towards my actual house and how much of that is going towards interest, right? So Melissa got it. Winetta, Meredith, yeah, it's 10% buying power. 10% buying power. So let me put that in more words for you, because this will help you now with the buyers that are wanting to wait or sellers that are wanting to wait. Interest rates are very low right now. And let's just say that they jumped up. And today, maybe you can afford a $200,000 house for, you know, I'm just going to make up a number. You can afford a $200,000 house, and that would be about $1,400 a month, okay? Well, if interest rates go up a full point, 3% to 4%, now you can afford a $180,000 house for the same amount per month. So you have lost 10% buying power. So 200,000, 10% of that is 20,000. I now can afford a $180,000 house for the same monthly payment because interest rates went up a point. So let me know if you have a question. I always get nervous talking about math on a webinar after lunch, right? Especially towards the end of the week. So let me know if that makes sense or if you need me to explain that further. But again, you lose 10% buying power every time interest rates go up a percentage. Now, if they go down a percentage, you gained 10% buying power. But again, right now, where can they go? They're already really low. Yeah. So here's the thing, is sharing. First of all, know your licensure status. So some ISAs are unlicensed. That's likely not something you can talk about. Check with your local broker. So always check with your local broker if you are unlicensed on what you can or cannot talk about as an unlicensed ISA. What I like to do, if I mention that to a client, I like to explain, I am not a loan officer. You would want to talk to a loan officer to learn more about your situation. However, in general, if interest rates change by 1%, you usually lose buying power. And I like to leave it very general and then let the loan officer explain that further. Let the loan officer explain that. You always want to be careful on what you're saying, not to promise and not to say it's 10% exactly, because it can change. They need to talk to a loan officer. But I had a cousin up in Maryland, where I'm from, who was telling me, yeah, I want to list my house, but I'm going to wait because I want a higher down payment. So this isn't a holiday objection, yet it's common. I want to wait because of a higher down payment. So if I wait a year, I'll have more money to put down. And I said, you know, if interest rates go up, all of that might be useless. You might have a higher down payment, but if interest rates go up, it can kind of erase the ground you gained by saving money. So she ended up listing her house and buying a new one. Okay, now let's go over what NJ typed in. And this is a great point. So someone who says, I want to wait till after the holidays, it's actually true and it's proven. Houses sell better when they're decorated for the holidays. And think about it. We've got the Christmas tree up. We have the stockings hung. Maybe you have cookies that were baked recently. It's just happier. It's a friendly environment and people get, they get all the feels, right? It's Christmas. And so we actually find that houses sell better when they're decorated for the holidays. Another thing you can talk about is, I used to like to say this to people if they said, I don't want to list till January, so I'll wait. I actually still want to meet them now to lock in and have the listing agreement signed. So I like to say to people, meeting with us now does not mean you're listing tomorrow. In fact, we're meeting with people right now that plan to list their house anytime in the next 3 to 6 months. So anytime in that window, we're meeting with you now. And here's the thing. We're going to give you staging advice. And you are already taking apart the house to decorate it for Christmas and New Year's and maybe Thanksgiving and all the things going on. Wouldn't it make sense to meet with us now, get the staging advice, so that as you are already taking down things and putting things in the attic, you can have our staging advice in mind while you do it. Otherwise, you'll put everything away, get the house back to normal. We'll see you in January, and then you'll have to do things again. Why not just do that when you're redecorating anyway? So I like to, again, just explain, meeting with us today does not mean you're listing today or buying today. What it means is we're getting together a game plan so that when you're ready, we're good to go. All right. Any questions on those things? Any other objections you guys are getting specific to the holidays? I find most commonly it's, I don't want to wait because I don't want to have showings interrupt. Another common one is spring is a better market. Another common one is I'll do it, but I'll do it in like January. Just say, go ahead and meet now. Let's make a game plan. And then another one nobody has typed in. However, I agree that this could be a big deal, is I'm nervous to have people come to the house with Corona. I don't want to get sick and then not be able to see my family for Christmas. I don't want any showings anywhere within 2 weeks of the holidays, and so I'm just going to wait. Well, and that's where, if they're motivated to move, remember, lack of education is what's holding them back. So that's where I would recommend educating them on your protocols for COVID. And a lot of people these days have gone digital. I would encourage you, if you have not masterminded this as a team, get together and just say, if we had to conduct everything virtually and never actually get together with people in person, how would we do a real estate transaction? A lot of you have already done that. But with Matterport, I just saw pictures online yesterday of a house that was virtually staged. The house was empty with no furniture. However, the pictures, because of virtual staging, it looked like a house you would see on HGTV. It was beautiful, and it was all virtual. So with technology these days, if you've got someone who's worried about Corona, which is understandable, let them know about what are the alternative ways that you're helping clients without actually having to be in person. All right, so we are actually at our time. There's a lot more to cover, and there's, it's a 30-minute webinar. So I just want to remind you, we do have a class. The current one closes November 30th. So we have a class called Mastering Inside Sales. We have 19 language patterns taught in that class. You got one of them today, how to uncover. In the actual class, we would have spent way more time on that. Each class is an hour long. It meets each week, 3 weeks a month. And we have 19 language patterns. We go over trackers. I give you tracking systems, all the things. You can find script partners. We talk about everything that you need to know to be a successful ISA. It is a 6-month program. The one we are running right now, you can sign up until November 30th, and the class is closed, no longer accepting enrollment. We are 6 classes in out of 18. So if you go ahead and sign up before the 30th, you'll have 6 on demand that you can watch now. I mean, as soon as you sign up, you can see it. And then you'll have 12 left that you can join us live. The next class after that will launch January 13th. So you'll have, if you don't sign up before the 30th, then you can join us January 13th, and just know you'll have about a month and a half where there's not an opportunity to be in the class. So just decide, do you want to join and have the on demand and have 12 left, or you could join us January 13th, and then you'll be with us live for all 18 sessions. All right, guys, it's great to see you. Oh, the class is good for agents as well. Yeah, we actually have a lot of agents. I've learned, I didn't know this, but a lot of them have reached out and said, I'm in your class and I'm an agent. Really, what we're talking about is lead conversion and how to lead generate. So I say agents are ISAs. There might be a couple things in there that wouldn't apply to you as an agent, yet most of the class does. And if any of you are here, if you want to type in, yeah, Lana said the class is great for ISAs and agents. Yeah. Isabel's in the class, awesome. Let's see what other questions are here. There's a question, is it cheaper if we join now? No, the class is actually really cheap. You pay $199 a month, which for the 6 months is just under $1,200. Well, just one closing for a team is usually $7,500. So you're getting 6 months of training, 18 hours of training, and it's usually about a sixth of what a real estate closing would be. So you get great ROI, and it's a 6 month. Whenever you sign up, you pay $199 for the next 6 months. Yeah, I don't know how to say your team name, but he said we are ISAs until we hire one. Absolutely. Yeah, and I've had even team leaders, like market center team leaders, say I'm benefiting, because what we go over is how do you open a call so people want to stay on the phone with you? What do you do if people say I'm busy, call me later? We talk about how to dig into motivation. How do you uncover objections? One of my favorite things to teach is how do you leave a voicemail that actually gets a call back? A lot of people think voicemails don't work, yet most people have never had training on how to leave a voicemail. There's actually a formula on how to leave a voicemail that people will actually want to call you back. So we go over all that. There's 19 language patterns. We give you trackers, paper trackers, electronic trackers. We go over economic model. My goal in the class, and this is the last thing I'll say, I sat down and brainstormed with others, and it was basically, okay, been doing this now for 14 years. What are all the things that we wish we had known that hadn't been taught to us? And we basically made a list. Here's all the language patterns. Here's all the systems. Here's all the database things that we wish we had known. And then we put it together. And that's how the class became 6 months, is we realized it will take 6 months to teach all of this effectively. So the goal for me of the class is that by the time you're finished, you feel like you know how to run a business within the real estate business you're in. Because here's the thing, and I know we're a little over, I'm getting passionate. If you're an ISA or an agent for that matter, you have a business within the team that you're on. So when I worked at the Haro Group, yes, that was the bigger team, but my income was separate from everyone else's. We needed to rely on each other, right? I needed the agents to close out deals for me to get paid and things like that. But the thing is, my skill would earn me my income, and that could be different than another ISA on the same team. We weren't going to make exactly the same amount because we had different skill levels. We had different business strategies that we were using. So my goal is by the end of the class, you know how to think like a business owner of the ISA world that you're in, or if you're an agent, same thing. You know how to think like a business owner within the larger business that you work for. Dates and costs again. So the class that's running right now started in October. We are 6 sessions in out of 12. So if you sign up by November 30th and then the class closes, you can sign up through November 30th and you'll have the first 6 classes on demand. So you sign up today, you have 6 hours of on-demand training today, okay? And then we have 12 classes left. It's $199 a month. So $199 a month, just under $1,200 for all 6 months. If you're not quite ready, maybe you say, I'm hiring an ISA, or maybe you're an agent and you're in another class, yet you want to do it. The next class will be January 13th. I just confirmed that yesterday with Maps. So January 13th is the next class. It's open to any brokerage. So I run it through Keller Williams, yet any brokerage is welcome to join. And I think that helps. Oh yeah, you can sign up through masteringinsidesales.com. I see a question, where do we sign up? The MAPS website, just a little tip for you. The MAPS website, the sign up link is no longer there because the class started in October. So on the website, Mastering Inside Sales, it's kind of like people that we've talked to that say, I'm interested and I'm okay with having 6 on demand. In fact, I like 6 on demand. You can sign up at Mastering Inside Sales. If you go to mapscoaching.com and go to sign up, it won't work. So you want to go to masteringinsidesales.com. Okay. Another question about the class. It's Wednesdays, 3 weeks a month. So we meet the first 3 weeks, take a week off. The reason we do that, and those of you in the class right now can attest to this, we cover a lot of ground. So we give you 1 week off a month to really make sure you're practicing and implementing before we load you up with more steps. So it meets for 3 weeks, week off. 3 weeks, week off. It meets Wednesdays. But again, everything's recorded. So there are people in the class that I never see, and they're in the class every week. They're just watching it on their own time. It's best if you can join us because we do breakout rooms and a lot of interaction. We do it on Facebook, or not on Facebook. We do it through Zoom, so it's very interactive. The time, I don't remember right now because I have more than one class running. It's in the afternoon, but all that's on the website. Just check the website. All right, guys. Well, listen, we're over, and I want to respect your time, as well as Hannah, who's running this webinar for us. I want to respect her time as well. So I will see you guys hopefully in class. Go to masteringinsidesales.com if you have any questions. You'll see how to reach us. And I hope to see you in the next class. Have a great day, everybody.